and a new book that I've written with a group of outstanding law professors and law librarians called Attorneys in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And we're going to talk to you today. I'm going to talk to you today about two of those members. There are 11 attorneys in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and myself and Bob Jarvis, my co-editor and co-author, put together a team of law professors who have a love for the game of baseball. And each one chose a particular uh, member of the Hall of Fame, and I'll go into a little bit later why today's two, how they got picked. And what I'm going to try to do today is do a program for you, especially just for your chapter, um, designed to talk about two men who have connections to New Orleans. And so just a little bit more about myself. I'm a member of the South Florida SABR Chapter.
Louis, let me interrupt you a minute, just real
Sure,
quick. Can you try to speak a little bit louder? We're
sure.
having some sound
Sure.
difficulty on
All
our
right.
side, so
I'll get closer to the.
yeah,
I'll speak a
yeah.
little louder.
Sorry to
So
interrupt you. Yeah.
no, interrupt me. All you need to do. That's fine. So I'm a member of the South Florida SABR Chapter. In 2017, my first book with Bob Jarvis, Professor Jarvis, was awarded the SABR Research Award, Baseball in the Law Cases and Materials. I'm a co-editor and a co-author of our current work, which is the book here, Attorneys in the Baseball Hall of Fame, a collection of biographical essays. And I'm happy to report that this morning, the book is #1 on Amazon Sports Law, as well as the Kindle edition is #2 on Amazon Sports Law for Kindle books. The American Bar Association did a review of our book just a couple of days ago, and it's been very well received. In addition to my work as a co-editor and co-author on this book, I'm an adjunct law professor at Mitchell Hamlin School of Law in St. Paul, Minnesota. So those are some of my qualifications. If you want to learn more about me, you can Google my name and you'll see stuff. On the right is a picture of me the day the book came into the house when I got my advance copy. And on the left is me throwing out a first pitch at a Marlins game on my 70th birthday this past June. And you can see that there was nobody in the stadium. But that's another issue for another day. If you're interested in baseball and law, Professor Jarvis and we maintain two pages on social media. One is on X and one is on Blue Sky. The material that is posted every day is similar. So if you subscribe to both, you can follow us on both. If you're on one and you like one over the other, we're on both pages. If you're interested at baseball and law, you can find us there. This is a special presentation designed strictly for the members of the Schott-Pelican SABR community, and I'm happy to be here to do this. So we'll get started. That's a picture of the Hall of Fame as it looked in the late 1930s. And so who are the members of the Baseball Hall of Fame that are attorneys? Well, there are 11. 3 of them were players that got in because they were players. And we'll talk a little bit more. For example, Tony La Russa was a player, but he didn't get in because he was a player. 2 are managers, and that's who we're going to talk about today, the 2 managers that are in the Baseball Hall of Fame. 3 are executives that are attorneys, and 3 were baseball commissioners. Of the 11 members of the Baseball Hall of Fame that are attorneys, 8 were born before 1900 and 3 were born after 1900, with the last person, Tony La Russa, being born in 1944. And Tony is the only living member of the Baseball Hall of Fame who is an attorney. And so today we're going to talk about Huggins and La Russa, the Baseball Hall of Fame managers who spent a few important years in the city of New Orleans. For For those of you who have seen the book already, you'll know that the book is about 250 pages, but we have 1,300 footnotes. One of the things that we tried to do as authors, and there's 10 of us, is to make sure that we were absolutely correct on our facts, and any facts that we have in the book are backed up with specific, in this case, chapter notes. At the end of each chapter, you'll find these notes, and like I said, there's about 1,300 chapter notes that you can do further research on if you want to see where we got our information from, or go further than that. So we're going to talk today about Mr. Huggins, or we're going to talk today about Mr. LaRussa, and I'll mention the importance of how New Orleans kind of influenced them in their path to the baseball immortality in the Hall of Fame. So I want to start off with Miller James Huggins, and there's a picture of him from the 1902 class at the University of Cincinnati School of Law. Now, if you look very closely, you'll find him. He's really on the bottom of the page, second person on the bottom from the right, and I've blown up his picture there so you can see him. He never really practiced law, and this chapter was written by Professor Stephanie McMahon, and that's why her photo's up there. And just a little bit of background about Professor McMahon and why she chose this chapter. We chose her because she is a professor at the University of Cincinnati, the very same school that Miller Huggins went. And you'll be amazed to know that she's a tax professor. So when I say that we have professors that have written about the subject, she has a love of baseball. She happens to be an outstanding tax professor at the University of Cincinnati. She's published in her own field. She's a New York Yankees fan. She has her law degree from Harvard University, and she holds her bachelor's degree from Oglethorpe, and she has a PhD from the University of Virginia. So I'll be using much of her material in my presentation today. So a little bit about Huggins. This is a colorized photo of him from his time as a manager. He was never practiced law. He was a very small person by height and weight. He was admitted to practice in Ohio. He was a registered Republican. He piloted the Yankees to six pennants, going into 6 World Series and winning 3 of the 6. And he was enshrined in the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1964. And he graduated from the University of Cincinnati College of Law 123 years ago. There's been a lot of conversation about what was the year of his birth. Now, we have it as 1878. And how did we, and when I say we, Professor McMahon, and how did we conclude that it was 1878 and not a different date? And so part of the fun about being SABR members, as you all know, is being able to do a lot of research, because we sometimes will read things and say, well, that's not accurate. Well, how do we know that? And we had tremendous researchers and librarians who are also attorneys that did the research. So, as with many of the men that are in our book, there's differences about their birth dates and sometimes birth years. And so, for instance, for Huggins, 3 years appear in sources, 1878, 1879, and 1880. Now, the New York Times, in their obituary on September 26, 1929, they listed his birth years as either 1879 or 1880. But I'm going to explain to you why we think it's a different year. When you go to his Find a Grave site, and I had help with part of this PowerPoint from Professor Ed Edmonds, who is not able to be with us today. Many of you probably know Ed. Ed is the chair of the Halsey Hall chapter in St. Paul and Minneapolis, and he's doing a program with them this morning, and he can't be here, but he helped me with the PowerPoint for today, and Ed did some of this research as far as these photographs go. And so when you go to Find a Grave, which is a website where I know many of you have used before to corroborate your findings, you will see that his date of birth is listed as March 27th, 1878 in Hamilton County, Ohio, and his date of death in 1929 in New York. But here's the convincing thing. His grave marker says 1878 on it, which is different than what the New York Times has written and other sources has written. And one more thing that's interesting is that here's his World War I registration card. And if you look closely, you will see on the left side, his date of birth is listed as 1878. So for many of you who do this type of research, or if you want to get some information from us, I'm happy to help you out. You can always contact me. I know that your chair, Richard, has done an awful lot of baseball research, and I'm sure that you're familiar with this kind of research, and it makes it so easy now because all we have to do is go online, and we don't have to go to a library. We don't have to go to the Library of Congress to get this information. This is all at our fingertips wherever we may be. I'm in South Florida right now. And so this lists his date of birth as 1878. So we kind of put to rest, I believe we put to rest in this book, the date of birth. And so from this date forward, we would hope that those who are doing stories about Huggins will rely on our research and say they've conclusively shown that his date of birth is 1878. And here's the New York Times obituary that incorrectly has his date of birth. And again, this is thanks to Professor Edmonds from the University, who's University of Notre Dame Professor Emeritus. Some more information. Baseball Reference now has this right. Baseball Reference has it right. And Baseball Almanac just recently put together a page on attorneys in the Baseball Hall of Fame as a result of our new book. So if you're interested in doing some research about the attorneys that are in the Baseball Hall of Fame, you can go to Baseball Almanac and they'll give you some information as well. But finally, I think we've kind of put to rest the date of birth regarding Miller Huggins. So let's talk a little bit about Miller Huggins and his upbringing. That's kind of what I want to talk about, and his career, a little bit, his early career. He was pushed by his father, and this is a true story that we find with many of the attorneys that are in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And when we get to Tony La Russa in a few minutes, you'll see how these things kind of parallel. The family was very, very important in motivating many of the Hall of Famers to pursue a legal degree, especially to those that played ball. So Miller Huggins was encouraged by his father to get a law degree. And he said, so it was only after he had his law degree that he was able to devote himself fully to baseball. He's quoted as saying, "I fell in love. The object of my love, though, was no lady. It was instead baseball." To go on further, he said, "When I was a mere lad, it had been decided that I was to be a lawyer." And that's true today with many families where they say to their children, "You're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a baseball player," whatever it is. And he was encouraged. And this was due to the tendency on Miller Huggins' part to enter into long arguments over any question that arose, whether in the backyard or playing baseball. Mr. Huggins, the neighbors used to say to my father, I'm quoting him now, Miller Huggins, "That boy is bound to be a lawyer. Anyone who can persistently argue every side of a question like him has got to go into the law." So as a young man, he was a good student, but he loved baseball, and so there was a conflict. And so there was such a conflict, and this is from the Shreveport Journal, January 6, 1916, that this is 14 years after he graduates law school. He didn't want to tell his father about some of his baseball antics. So here's a story that broke, and there's a picture of Huggins on the left. And in the article, it says Huggins was known as James Proctor when he played on the St. Paul Club, and he had some connections with St. Paul. He couldn't use the family name because his father objected to a professional baseball career for his son. The elder Huggins had no idea that he would become a big leaguer, so he advised him to stay out of baseball and practice law. So as a young man, he tried to hide this fact from his parent. It's saying, so he went by a different name, and this is from the Shreveport, Louisiana Journal back in 1916. As I said, he was pushed by his father to get his law degree. But even though he was pushed by dad to get his law degree, the family did not pay for his education. Uh, what's interesting, at the University of Cincinnati at the time in the early 1900s, late 1800s, school was $100 a year. So that's equivalent to about $3,600 a year. But tuition today in law school is not $3,600 a year. For any of you who have just completed law school or thinking of sending a family member to law school, I can tell you that tuition at some schools can range from $20 to $50 or $60,000 a year for law school. Textbooks at the time were only $40 to $50 a year. Today, a single textbook can cost well over $100. And room and board ran anywhere between $3.50 and $8 a week for a law student. And I can tell you that, as you know, that the cost to live now are so much higher. But he avoided having to pay room and board because he was living at home with the family while going to law school. And that's how the family did help him out. So what did he study? So unlike a lot of lawyers or attorneys, he took 10 credits during the first year. That consisted of courses like civil procedure and contracts and criminal law and the law of persons, which we call now domestic relations, property, and torts. Today, the credits would be more. A typical first year student, if they're full time, will take 30 credits each year for a total of 90 credits. During his second year, he took other required classes, and these are pretty much the same required classes that are necessary to graduate law school in 2025. And then in his last year, he took other classes that were necessary. So for a total of, he had a little almost 40 credits for his 3 years of law school, as opposed to 90 credits that's required now. The difference between law school at the University of Cincinnati and taking law classes there today or at any law school, there were no elective courses offered. They had a list, you had to complete this. So, for example, I have been teaching a program called Law and the Business of Baseball at Mitchell Hamlin School of Law for the last 13 years. It's a 1-credit summer course that I teach in conjunction with the Minnesota Twins and the St. Paul Saints. A course like that would have absolutely been unheard of in 1902. So, because he was involved in baseball at the time, he was able to juggle his law studies and baseball. Again, with the promise to his father that he wouldn't play baseball once he graduated law school. However, in January 1902, just before his final semester of law school, he clerked for a St. Paul, Minnesota municipal court judge by the name of Judge Grier Orr. And the connection was that Judge Orr was also a University of Cincinnati graduate who had graduated law school 19 years before him, and Judge Orr had become an expert in family law. But as matters turned out, that was the only law job that Miller Huggins ever had. So within days of finding out that he passed the bar exam, and back in 1902, you'll be interested to know that many states didn't require you to pass a bar exam. There was 2 ways you could be admitted. One way you could be admitted is by graduating in the same state. Some other states only had you sign a letter of an affidavit of moral character, such in the case of Kennesaw Mountain Landis when he first became an attorney, and then you were able to practice law. But from,
Louis,
yes,
let me
sir.
let me interrupt you. Watch your time, okay?
Okay, how much
All
time
right.
do you will have left? You just let me know.
10 to 15 minutes at
Very
max.
good. Very good. Thank you very much. And so he stuck with baseball. Let me get to your New Orleans connections, which I think is important. This is a picture of him and Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth was a draw to spring training. The New Orleans was home to the Yankees in 1922, 23, and 24. That's a picture of the Yankees from 23, the year they won the World Series. Miller Huggins is in the center. He is dead center, second row. New Orleans Pelicans played exhibition games against the Yankees, and this is a picture of the 1923 New Orleans Pelicans. They would have been playing the Yankees in spring training. This is where the Yankees stayed when they were in New Orleans. They were at the Grunwald. Am I pronouncing that correctly? The Grunwald Hotel. That's where the team was housed while they were playing in spring training. Here's the park where the Yankees played spring training as well. This is where Miller Huggins was there for his 3 years. This is where, and what's interesting, this is a listing. This comes from the Columbia Record. This is a listing of all the spring training locations for 1922. And if you take a look, you'll see there's another famous Hall of Famer there that's also an attorney, or would, and that's Branch Rickey. And so he and Miller Huggins, unknowing at that time, would become Hall of Famers as attorney. Ty Cobb is also there as a manager. Connie Mack is there. Tris Speaker is there. The list of Hall of Famers that were managing baseball in 1922. John McGraw, things like that. Um, an important story came out in 1922 is that Huggins recognized Ruth's leadership and he appointed him captain of the Yankees in 1922. That was a year that the Yankees would lose the World Series to the Giants. In 1923, during spring training, um, Huggins says the Yankees have to beat the Tigers to win the flag, and he's talking in New Orleans. And the Yankees played so well in 23 that they finished 16 games ahead of the Tigers, their nemesis during that year, to win, and they went on to win the World Series. And then in his last year in 1924 in Louisiana, there were some harsh training methods. He was one of the few managers at the time that insisted on discipline, and it had a lot to do with his law degree. And the Yankees that season would finish second to who were the eventual world champs, the Washington Senators. So those are 3 years that Miller Huggins spent in Louisiana developing and becoming the strong manager that he was. And we can go ahead now, and I know my time is a little bit limited. This is Tony La Russa. The gentleman on Tony's on the left is Judge Markowitz, Abraham Lincoln Markowitz. That's why the pictures of Abraham Lincoln are in the office. He was a federal judge. When he found out he passed the bar, he was the manager for the White Sox, and he was sworn in on the afternoon that he found out because Mr. Veck knew the judge because he was a season ticket holder, and he got him to swear him in. A little bit of background about Tony, and what made the chapter about Tony La Russa so much fun to do is he's the only living member of the Hall of Fame that's an attorney, and I had the pleasure to speak to him on a whole bunch of different occasions to learn about him and to get some information. He was a bonus baby. He's the only attorney in the Hall of Fame that was a member of the Florida Bar. Although he didn't practice as a lawyer, he was listed as an active member of the bar for about 15 years, and he was named manager of the year 4 times. He led 2 teams to the World Series. He was registered as a Republican, and he came into the Hall in 2014. Mom and dad are from Ybor City. a small town outside of Tampa, a working town. You might call it a blue-collar town. His parents met while they were working in a cigar factory. One thing we've uncovered is that his name is properly spelled as LaRussa without a space in it. Here's his parents. If you look at the bottom of the page, his parents' marriage license announcement spelled LaRussa without a space. And when Tony was born, there's the record from the Tampa Daily Times showing that his name was spelled LaRussa without a space between the A and the capital R. Um, some of the things that Tony told me that parallel Miller Huggins was that I promised my mom I would get an education. Both his mom and dad insisted that he would get an education. And when he signed his contract as a bonus baby in 1963 with the A's, his mother made sure that he got money for a college scholarship, and the A's left money for him to go to school. He went to the University of South Florida and got a business degree. Some of the things that he told me that while he believes, and I believe this too, that he would have become a trial lawyer because he liked the competition. And when asked what lessons he had learned in law school that helped him as a manager, he told me that you can't shoot from the hip, as you must value preparation and you must pay attention to detail, and winning or losing a case or winning or losing a ball game starts with preparation. And for those of you who subscribe to the Baseball Hall of Fame channel, there was a recent interview of Tony where he described his managerial skills as managing 18 different innings, basically pitch by pitch. And here's a picture of him being signed to his contract, and you'll notice how the Tampa Bay Tribune spelled his name at the time with an A and an R together. Again, this is his first professional game. I want to talk now about his connections to Louisiana. So from 1962, when he was 63, when he was signed as a bonus baby, he was required to play his first year in Major League Baseball. He had to stay with the team the whole year. He hurt himself during one winter playing pickup ball, and now we're to 1976, and he's at the end of his career, and he's now realized that I need to find something else, but he didn't want to give up the dream of playing baseball. So in 1976, the Times-Picayune points out that LaRussa is going to be playing for the AAA Pelicans the following season while working on a law degree, and the article mentions that. In February of 1977, again, they're talking about the team and how they are optimistic about Tony being on the team for the 1977 season. In 1977, this is one of the early games. If you look at the box score, Tony went 1 for 4, had a run scored and drove in a run. That unfortunately is one of the highlights of the season because, and we'll get to it in a minute, there's a story here, and here's Tony, and in this one, he again goes 1 for 4, showing that in these two games he's hitting 250. But if you look at the box score, you'll see that Joe West is an umpire in AAA, and Shulock is also one of the umpires in AAA during that game. But as the season draws to a close in 1977, it's obvious that, and there's one more funny story that I want to get to before that there was a game in which he almost got hit. The game almost came to blows, but what people didn't know was that the pitcher, Silvio Martinez, almost hit Tony, and Tony started yelling. They started yelling at each other, but they were speaking Spanish to one another. Tony's first language was Spanish. And so folks thought they were yelling and screaming at each other, but the truth be told, as pointed out in the Times-Picayune article of August 24th, 1977, they were really joking about the fact that the pitcher never intended to hit Tony, and Tony didn't take it as anything, but the players came out on the field thinking that they were separating these guys, and all they were doing was laughing about the fact that he almost got hit by a pitch. This is Tony's last year in professional baseball. And as you take a look at it, you'll see he only played 50 games that year for the Pelicans and batted a 188. And that's when he realized that his career as a ball player was over. He then, during this time, he goes to law school. It's at this time he goes to Florida State because they're the only school in the state that'll allow him to both be a ball player, do his things in baseball, and go to law school at the same time. He says, I wasn't a brilliant student. And that's what he wrote in his autobiography, but I can tell you he was a brilliant student. He's being very modest. He was competitive. Tony graduated at pretty much the top of his class. This is Schott-Pelican, who is a classmate of Tony's, who still practices law on the west coast of Florida, who told me during this chapter how dedicated he was to the study of law and how much he wished to succeed. Gentleman pictured here is one of Tony's dearest professors, Professor Charles Earhart, who I had the pleasure to talk to and I've taught with over the years. It was in 1977, while Tony was playing for the Pelicans, that Professor Earhart tried to get Tony a position with the U.S. Court of Appeals in New Orleans. But because of Tony's demanding schedule, he was never able to do it. But Professor Earhart was prepared to get him a position with as a clerk with the local court. And so Earhart asks him this question: what are you going to do after you graduate? And whatever you do, make sure you take the bar exam. And it was also Mike Veck who told him the same thing: you need to take the bar exam. And Mike's son, I'm sorry, Bill Veck. Bill Veck's son Mike is a friend of mine, and what Mike told me was that he got signed by the White Sox and got to coach and then manage because of his law degree. His father felt that he was an extremely intelligent person. There's stories out there that said the reason why the Vecks hired Tony was because they could get him for less money. That's not the story. He was signed by Bill Veck because Bill Veck saw him as an intellect who could use his law degree to better the team. And these are some of the articles that were written about him and his law degree over the years when he first started. For 15 years, he was a member of a Florida law firm. He never really practiced. He was supposed to have one case involving a woman and her competency, but spring training called him away. And before the case could be heard, he had to leave, and the case was eventually won by his law firm. And these are just some of the things. And one last thing I want to tell you about Tony, besides being a very forthright and man and loving the game of baseball, he would have been an excellent trial attorney. The same way that people influenced Tony to go to law school. I met this gentleman. His name is Robin Fusion. He's a judge now in Florida, but I met Robin a number of years ago when he was a brand new judge, and I was on the faculty for the Florida Judicial College teaching brand new judges. And he told me a story. He said, I hear you like baseball and law. And he tells me the story about how when he was on a coaching staff with Tony, he asked Tony about going to law school. And because he and Tony both had graduated from the University of South Florida, he was thinking about going to law school. And it's because Tony said it never hurts. You can use your law degree for a lot of things. And so he went to Stetson, Judge Fusion, and he became a lawyer. One of the things that 1977 season that he had with the Pelicans is the reason that Tony became such a great manager. Had Tony had a great year in 1977 with the Pelicans, he may have been called back up to play Major League Baseball, and we don't know where his career would have gone and where his opportunities would have gone. But it's almost like as a result of sometimes when bad things happen, doors open up. And as a result of that 188 season with the Pelicans, all of a sudden now he gets called to start coaching the following season. And before you know it, he's the manager of the White Sox. So now you know the rest of the story. So I want to thank you very much for letting me come in and talk a little bit about these two gentlemen. If you're interested in the book, McFarland has a discount now for SABR members by using the code CUNE20 between now and November 1st, or if you have Amazon Prime, there's a 25% discount from Amazon Prime with free shipping, and there's no discount code needed. So, Richard, I want to thank you for letting me visit with you and your members. And if anybody has a question, if we have time, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Thanks. There's a lot of detail, a lot of details in that that research that you had. I'm sure.
Thank you.
Any questions from here on the in person or anybody remotely? Just chime in here. Got a few minutes.
Hey, Richard, can you hear me?
Who's that?
Ian, yes, we can hear you, Ian.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Hi. Hey, just wanted to share one other connection to New Orleans. I'm speaking here from Denver. I wear the Denver Bears shirt. In '75, La Russa, was the MVP for Denver. And I put together a documentary about his time about Colorado, but he had mentioned that he was named MVP not because he was the best player, but it was an emotional decision because he just hustled. He wintered that year in Denver and worked as a clerk in a law firm. And I think he had mentioned that was one of the reasons that he started loving law. Well, Denver Bears became the Denver Zephyrs. Denver Zephyrs became the New Orleans Zephyrs. So just another slight connection between La Russa and New Orleans.
Thank you.
Cool.
That's all.
Thank you very much, Ian. That's great.
Anyone else? Well, thanks again, Louis. Appreciate
Thank you also very much. I appreciated it. And you all have a wonderful weekend. And I thank you for allowing me to come and visit with you today.
Okay, this is Steve Lane, who's been gracious enough to come by and tell us about his extensive collection here with Mickey Mantle memorabilia, and he's brought a number of items here. Hopefully, maybe get a view of some of those. So, Steve, why don't you go ahead and I'll operate the.
Just sit right
Yeah,
there.
why don't you just sit right there, and that way they
Okay.
can see you, and then I'll operate the slides for you.
All right. Well, thank you for inviting me. And I hope what I have to say is as informative as the last speaker. Didn't know exactly what to expect in terms of what your expectations would be, but I just want you to imagine that it's October 25th, but it's 1961. And Mickey Mantle just celebrated his 30th birthday. Whitey Ford is about to celebrate his birthday. Yankees have just won the World's Championship. They took the Reds in 5 games. Maris is MVP. Ford won the Cy Young. Mantle was going to win Co-Player of the Year from the Baseball Writers Association of America. And I cannot talk or watch baseball without the Yankee Stadium popcorn for 27 cents. Now, why 27 cents? I don't know. Normally, I would try to put this thing on, but I already did once. And I mean, the vendors in 1961 must have had miniature heads. I don't know. This is an actual vendor shirt, which does fit me. So, I know I'm a normal size from the neck down, but I got each of you. Okay. And let's see if I can do it like the vendors. There you go. No, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm sorry. I apologize. And I will,
Are you local?
what?
Are you local from here? Are you?
I was born and raised in Brooklyn, came here in 1977, went to Loyola Law School and have been here
Are you local?
ever since. Yeah.
A Yankee fan from Brooklyn?
Well, I'll explain that. In 1961 is when my dad introduced me to baseball.
Oh.
And in 1961, it was one of the few years that there was only one team in New York.
Yeah.
Giants had left Manhattan, the Dodgers had left Brooklyn. The Mets did not start in 1962. So in 1961 was fortuitously a good year for my dad to introduce me to baseball. And I went to my first game in 61. Of course, that was a great year to be a Yankee fan. I'm glad, that my dad did introduce me at that time, because I don't know what would have happened if he tried to get me to be a Mets fan starting in 1962. I'd probably be in therapy right now. But every few weeks, my grandfather would come to the house and he would bring me, you all know it, a box of Topps baseball cards, 25 packs, 24 packs, I'm sorry, 5 cards and a stick of gum in each pack. A nickel a pack for the 24 packs is $1.20 a box in 1961. This same box, in its original wrapping, with all the packs still in there, sold recently for over $300,000. So times have changed. But from 1961 up until now, I've collected, baseball cards and memorabilia of not only Mantle, but the Yankees. And if we go to the next picture, and I don't know how well this is going to show for you all. That's all right. This is part of my room. I've got some man caves, and got the various items. And what I'll do, I guess, to make it easy on all y'all, because I wasn't sure how many people we'd have. Can you pass those around? Sure. Pretty sure I got them. Here. We got enough. They did a book on my collection, and this is part of one of my rooms. We can go to the next picture.
Everything in here,
Everything in there I own. Collected over the last 65 years. So those are my, that's what every once in a while, I'll just go in that room and sit and look around. And besides memorabilia, over the years, I've purchased and had every Mantle card. Let's go to the next one. And you'll all know this card. It's the 1952 Topps Mantle card. Now, one of these cards, it was a rated 9.5 out of 10, recently sold for about $12.5 million. My card is not worth $12.5 million, but it's not chopped liver either. I mean, it's
6.0.
It's a yeah. Let's go. Wait, hang on one second. Yeah, let's go to the next one. And so one day, for my book, they asked me to just lay out all my cards, and it's every single one from 1951 to 1969 when he retired. All of them were graded and such. And some of those cards, like I said, were in this box that my grandfather got me, for a nickel a pack. Or you all remember, you'd go to the local delicatessen or candy store or whatever. They'd have the vending machine either outside, or you'd go buy the wax pack inside. And what I used to do was I'd sit in my grandfather would bring me a box. I'd sit in my room and break it out into 3 columns. One was all the Yankees. The next was everybody else, Koufax, Mays, McCovey, I don't care who. And then the last one was the sticks of gum, which my dentist was very happy I ate them all in like the span of an hour. And that's how I decided what I was going to keep what I was going to get rid of. And so then for my 30th birthday, I decided to treat myself. They had started this new idea of a fantasy camp. But you had to be at least 30 years old, and I barely made it. And at that time in '85, that was the year that Peter Ubroth ended the ban on Mantle and Mays being kicked out of baseball. So what Mantle and Mays did was they needed the money, so they went to this fantasy camp. And so if we go to the next picture, I got the opportunity to play with Mantle and Mays and Ernie Banks, Whitey Ford, Moose Scourin, whatever. I even played with some Dodgers, Tommy Davis, Johnny Roseboro, Maury Wills. So let's go to the next one. When Mantle came here, he was in New Orleans in the early '90s, did a show over what it was now the Copeland Tower. And he remembered me from years past. And there in the fantasy camp, that's me. I actually got a triple. I don't know who took that photograph. I got a triple. You see, I'd already lost my helmet. And you'll see that Moose Scourin doesn't have to tell me to stop, because there was no way I was making it home. All right. If they had taken the ball and thrown it over the center field fence, I was not running home. So yeah, that was it there. And then next picture, before one of the games, it's Whitey Ford was signing for me. He pitched. We played the major leaguers that night, and Ford was pitching. And I ended up batting against Ford. And what happened was, I'm a left-handed batter, and as you know, he's a left-handed pitcher. So I came up to bat. I just did not want to embarrass myself. Didn't want to strike out or look stupid. So he throws the first pitch, and I swear it was coming right at my head. And at the last minute, curved over the outside corner of the plate. And this was Ford at age like 55. And I'm going, how is he throwing a curve like that? And then the next pitch was similar, not as bad. And I just let it go. I thought it was a ball. The ump called a strike. Well, it's 0-2. Now the pressure is on. I mean, all right, am I going to be the one guy in fantasy camp that strikes out? And the next pitch was not much more of a curve. I managed to hit a ground ball to shortstop. Didn't embarrass myself. But now I go into the dugout, and there's Roseboro had been the catcher. There's Ford and Roseboro sitting on the bench, and I'm a 30-year-old, okay? And I go in there and I say, Whitey, I'm just curious, how did you make the ball break so much? And he and Roseboro start laughing, and I'm going, what are you laughing at? And Ford holds up his glove and shows me his glove, and in the glove there's a hole. And what he did in the freaking fantasy camp was he had this ring on with a piece of metal. And so when he put the ball into the glove, he'd do this, it would cut the ball and cause it to break. And I won't, since we're taping this.
He did that when he was an active player.
That's, yeah, absolutely right. Well, if he did it to me, yes, he did do it to Willie Mays and, you know, I guarantee he didn't save that for Steve Lane.
That's why they called him Slick.
And so, you know, they were still competitive, even in a fantasy camp at that age. And so now over time, I then went from cards to memorabilia. We can go to the next one. And I was fortunate enough to purchase Mickey Mantle's 1963 game used glove that he wore that season and in the '63 series against the Dodgers. That picture shows it was on loan. I loaned it to the New York Yankee Museum a few years ago. And one day I get a call from the museum because in order to touch some of these items, you got to be wearing these white gloves. And so they called me and said, Steve, there's a player from the Yankees came to visit the museum. He wants to hold Mickey Mantle's glove. We don't have any of these white gloves here. We don't want to give him permission to hold the glove, without calling you first. Is it okay? I said, all right, fine. Just take a picture of the guy holding the glove. And that was Aaron Judge.
That's cool.
The one thing in the museum he wanted to hold was Mickey Mantle's glove. So now I got, Mantle's DNA,
There you go.
Judge's DNA, and my DNA. I don't think the value of the glove went down any.
That's good.
And then, oh wait, stop. Look at the size of his hand compared to that glove. There is no way he could wear that glove today. All right, let's go to the next one.
Oh, who's 42 there?
Wait, go back.
I have no more cursor. So go,
You wanna do it this way? Oh.
go back that way.
Okay, you do.
Yeah.
Right here,
Okay, no, the next, go
40,
ahead.
42?
42, yeah, that's in the Yankee Museum, and that's Mariano Rivera's uniform.
Oh, he's not in it. Okay.
What do you mean he's not in
He's
it?
not wearing it.
No, that's the Yankee,
Yeah, okay.
Judge was visiting the museum in Yankee Stadium, and he just wanted to hold Mickey's glove.
Oh,
Let's see. Let's go to the next one. Okay, and what they did was they apparently made a plaque thanking people for letting them borrow their items. And you can't see it from here, but it's in my book. They list everybody. And when I went to the Yankee Stadium just to check, well, when I go to a game at Yankee Stadium, I always go to the museum anyway. And they have the names listed, and in alphabetical order, it's Derek Jeter, J, Stephen Lane, L, and then David and Danny Mantle, M. So I'm between Jeter and Mantle. I thought that was pretty good. And people who know me in the hobby will contact me from time to time and ask me, do you want this? Do you want that? And a friend of mine said to me, I've got Mickey Mantle's 1962 All-Star bat. They gave the players, still do, I think, 2 bats to use for the All-Star game. Said, would you like that bat? And I said, well, how much? And he gave me a price. I said, man, that's a little steep. He says, well, I'll tell you what if I arrange it for the owner of the bat to come meet with you and hand you the bat and take a picture of you with the bat? And I go to my friend, I said, what do I care who the owner of the bat is? And let's go to the next picture. And the owner of the bat was a guy by the name of Reggie Jackson. So Reggie flew in, took pictures with me, signed the photos, and then followed it up. Let's go to the next one. With a nice letter on his stationery saying, Steve, hope you're enjoying your 1962 Mickey Mantle All-Star bat. I enjoyed meeting you and look forward to a visit anytime. All the best, Mr. October, Reggie Jackson. So you never know who you're going to meet. And, oh, by the way, when he told me that it was Reggie Jackson, my response to him, even though I thought the price was high, my response to him was, oh, okay, will that be cash or credit card? Let's see. Got the bat. Now, I also brought with me, like I said, in 1962, I know I'm off camera. In 1962, Mantle, actually, he was given this award in 1962 for the year 1961. The Baseball Writers Association, just so people on the camera can see it. The Baseball Writers Association awarded him and Roger Maris the co-players of the year, and this I got directly from the Mantle family. So anything and anything having to do with Mantle that I felt was personal to him, like he touched, he actually owned it. Those are the types of things that I started going after in more recent years. And in addition to that, I didn't bring it with me for insurance reasons. In fact, if my insurance company knew the stuff that I did bring,
Right.
they'd be you know what bricks.
Yeah.
Okay. But let's go to the next picture. That is the very first baseball that Mickey Mantle ever signed. It says for my first pro win, July, I think it's the 19th, 1949, 6-3, Mickey Mantle. And the story behind that is Mickey Mantle had a roommate by the name of Bob Mallon, and they played for the Independence Yankees in 1949. It was Mantle's first year. Their manager was Harry Kraft, who you may recall managed the Houston Colt 45s, but he was the manager of the Independence Yankees. He comes to Mantle and Mallon's room, flips Mallon the ball, and says, "Here, kid, that's the last pitch from your first win." Mantle then tells Mallon to flip him the ball. And Mantle writes this on the ball, flips it back to Mallon. Mallon looks at it and says, "Why are you signing my ball?" And Mantle goes, "Because someday I'm going to be famous." And Mallon kept that ball till the day he died, from 1949 until I got it about 5-7 years ago. In addition to that, let's go to the next one. It's hard to see, but those are the original architect drawings to Yankee Stadium, and that netting in the right-hand corner is the original netting from the 1923 stadium when Ruth and Gehrig were playing. And the way I got this, again, a lot of it is luck. When I was practicing law, we had a client, wasn't my client, was my partner's client. His name was Jay Schwall, who was the president of the Invirex Demolition Company. And they were the ones who demolished the inside of Yankee Stadium in 1973. And he came to our office. I was introduced to him. He didn't know that I was originally from New York or had family in New York. He said, "Look, if you're ever in New York, come visit my warehouse," figuring, what are the odds I'm going to come from New Orleans to New York to visit his warehouse? Well, I go to Old Timers Day almost every year. So my mom and I one day got in her Toyota Tercel. Instead of renting a U-Haul, which is what I should have done, drove out to the easternmost tip of Long Island. If we had gone 5 feet further, we would have been in the Atlantic Ocean, and went to his warehouse, and he let me take whatever I wanted. And I took the architect drawings. He had boxes of untouched Yankee yearbooks, and I took some of those and a bunch of other stuff. Not knowing what I know now, I would have taken a lot more, but I didn't want to be a pig. But that's how I got the architect drawings. Let's go to the next photo. And that's a closer up look. These architect drawings were of the very front of Yankee Stadium next. And there's where the architect dated it, August 9th, 1922. And one time I showed these on Facebook to a group of collectors, just for show. And I said that these drawing was from August 9th, 1922. And some guy jumped in and said, "Those can't be real. They have to be phony. There's no way it could be August 1922. Yankee Stadium wasn't built until 1923. And I had to explain to him, "Yeah, but you got to have the architect drawings first." So I got the architect drawings, and then last thing that I'll show you that I brought is, some of you may know the Denny McLain story about Mickey Mantle's 535th home run. Mantle had 534 home runs in September of 1968, was making his last trip into Detroit. Detroit had already won the pennant. McLean had won his 30 games. The game was meaningless to them. They were ahead 6-0. Yankees just wanted to end the season. Mantle comes up for his last at bat in Detroit, and McLean calls the catcher out to the mound, and they meet halfway out to the mound. McLean tells the catcher, "Tell Mantle, I'm going to let him hit one." Catcher goes back behind home plate. Mantle heard what he said, turns to the catcher, goes, "Did I hear it right? McLean's going to let me hit a home run?" Catcher says, "Yeah, he's not going to work, curveballs, fastballs down the middle." So McLean throws a fastball down the middle. Mantle takes it. McLean goes like this, like, what do you want? And Mantle turns to the catcher again, because McLean had a reputation, still does, has a reputation for being a little out there. Mantle, but for all Mantle knew, McLean had some bet with somebody who was going to strike Mantle out, and the easiest way to do it was to let him think he was going to throw him nothing but fastballs. So again, McLean throws a fastball. Mantle was a little over anxious. He fouls it off. Third fastball, he hits it to the upper deck of the stadium. Mantle's running around the bases laughing. McLean is laughing. Mantle comes in. He passed Jimmy Fox for third place on the list behind only Babe Ruth and Willie Mays. Now Joe Pepitone comes up. All right. And Pepitone is also a character. So now he comes up and he gets in the batter's box and he goes to McLean right here. Right here. And McLean threw at his head, knocked him down.
That's cool.
Did his hairpiece come loose?
What? I don't know if he was wearing his hairpiece.
He would have been, he had a gamer.
What? I know he had something.
He had two hairpieces.
Let's see. I got this. And for those of you out there who are collectors, I mean, I keep this ball, I talk every time I get something like this, I call the Hall of Fame and I ask them, how should I handle it? How should I keep it? And they told me to always, no matter what kind of autographed baseball it is, even if it's brand new, is to put it in this type of litmus paper and then to put it in a special wooden box that the Hall of Fame uses. It's available on the anyway, Amazon. You can buy them. They're just hobby supplies, but that's how the Hall of Fame keeps their baseballs. They put them in this litmus paper and then put it in a wooden box and store it.
Be moisture out. So.
Right. So, and so that it doesn't fade.
Mhm.
Let me see. You got it? There. Ooh. I hope you can see it. But that's it. It says my 530, you're not going to be able to see it. My 535th home run, Mickey Mantle. And that's him with the baseball. Again, I got this directly from the Mantles right out of his closet.
Years ago, we used to put fingernail polish to preserve the
Right.
autograph.
Right,
yeah.
right. So I mean, that's, my stuff, my book. People always ask me, what my approach has always been for collecting. I mean, the hobby is just huge now. I mean, I go to these card shows and you see these 15-year-old kids with boxes of cash, just it's ridiculous. Just wheeling and dealing. And I just tell people, collect what you love. I don't care if it was Mickey Mantle or, Mickey Stanley. Just collect what you love. I think long-term, I'm not one of those people that, buys something and then flips it to make a profit. I usually only buy things related to established players like Mantle. What I think is the gold standard is what I go for, because as you've seen in recent years, as recently as yesterday with Chauncey Billups, you can be a Hall of Famer one day and under indictment the next day. So I go with people who I think you already know the worst about them. I mean, whatever Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Ty Cobb, Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays did, everybody knows about it, and it's not going to get any worse. Whereas young players are a gamble, even if they stay clean. I mean, think about all the money that people have spent thinking that Volpe, Dominguez, Wander Franco, Mattingly, Strawberry, Gooden. Those I remember when what's his face, Jeffries was on the Mets. Greg Jeffries, and everybody's buying hundreds of Greg Jeffries cards because he was like the next deal. Even Mike Trout, I mean, he's won 3 MVPs, but he hasn't really done anything in the last few years, and I don't know that he's going to do anything based on his injuries. So, you know, the value of that he used to have just no longer exists. I mean, of course, now Ohtani is the big deal.
How many Jason Dominguez cards do you have?
I have none. I don't have a single J. Trust me. I mean, I saw the Dominguez. The other one, the Yankee catcher.
Jake Gibbs.
No, that they just got that they.
Ben Rice?
No, the Yankee catcher.
Austin, well.
No, he's not on the team anymore. They got rid of him. He was the next.
Sanchez, Gary
Gary
Sanchez.
Gary Sanchez. Everybody, Gary Sanchez was going crazy. So, you know, you never know. Then again, on the other hand, you have people who you think were blemished, like Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson, who, although they're still blemished, now they're eligible for the Hall of Fame. Their value may go up if they get into the Hall of Fame. So you never know. But I'll leave you with one last story because this is the classic, at least for me, classic story as to what I love about collecting and really what I love about baseball in general. I had a baseball that was signed. I got it signed by Mantle, got it signed by Willie Mays. And then I don't remember what year it was. They were having an old timers game at the Superdome. And Hank Aaron was going to be there. Joe DiMaggio was coming in. It was for charity for retired baseball players. And I knew somebody in the district attorney's office, and I had gotten tickets. The DA came with me. We're sitting down the third base line, and we see Hank Aaron out in center field. And my friend calls a policeman over and says, "Look, can you get this ball signed by Henry Aaron?" And he says, "Sure." And I said, "Just wait a second. Just please, not Rich Rollins, not Zoilo Versailles, not Jose Cardinal, nobody but Hank Aaron, please." Goes out, comes back, ball signed, best wishes, Hank Aaron. So I got Aaron, Mantle, Mays. I wanted DiMaggio. And as usual, he came out wearing a suit, gets announced, greatest living player in baseball, goes in, and you never see him again. So the game is over. I had gotten passes that I could stand outside the locker room as the players came out. So the game's over, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night. And we go downstairs, we're waiting outside the locker room. Players are coming out. I have my baseball. I'm waiting for DiMaggio. And I'm looking, Whitey Ford, Billy Martin, McCovey, Marichal, you name them. Said, I don't want any of them. I didn't even look at them a second time. Behind me is the glass wall leading to the outside where people are pushed right up to the glass, waiting for the players to come out to get autographs. Some of them gave autographs. Some just jumped in the limo, jumped in a taxi, whatever, and went off. I'm waiting. It's 10:30. And all of a sudden I'm realizing, less and less players are coming out. 10:45, my friend says, "Look, Steve DiMaggio didn't stick around. I mean, he's gone. Just let's go." Well, now it's me, my friend, and the security guard, and it's pitch black in that hallway, other than maybe one light. The people are gone. It's now 11 o'clock. I say, all right, it's time to go. And all of a sudden, I hear a door open, and I see a stream of light coming out from this door. And I hear footsteps coming around the corner, and I'm looking, and there's Joe DiMaggio all alone with nobody, no handlers, no bodyguards, no security, nothing. And I was 35 years old. I almost peed in my pants. And I got the ball, and I walk up to him and I go, "Joe, can you sign next to Mickey's name?" And there's a chair right here. and I can't do it or I'll be off camera. Basically, what happened was he takes the ball, he puts his leg up on the chair, he puts the ball on his knee, goes, "Sure, kid," signs the ball, goes off into the night, and that is, even though that's not my most valuable possession, is my most valuable emotional possession, and that's what
Sure.
makes collecting so great for me. That
Yeah.
you don't forget something like that.
I was there that night. I was doing part-time for the paper, the sports writer, and I was down on the field, had a press pass. And met all those guys and had pictures taken with them.
Good.
Bobby Thompson was playing pitch and catch out in center field.
Okay.
And what I did, he got to put the glove down, said, "Bobby, I'm waiting all my life to meet you." And he signed a lot of stuff and took pictures from the famous home run and everything. That was one of the greatest nights
Yeah.
of my sports life.
All right. So that's it. Thank you for having me. I hope you got something out of it.
Thank you for coming.
Oh.
What?
It's just a big box and good.
Oh, that.
Christmas tree ornaments. You forgot. I'm sorry.
It's a bat.
This is Mickey Mantle's 1962. Right, there it is. There, yeah, I don't know what you can see or not see. I'm not good at. This is Mickey Mantle's 1962 All-Star Game bat. It was given to me by well, not given to me, sold to me by Reg Jackson. It's got I mean, I can't pass it around because I need to have the gloves on it, but you're welcome to come look at it. You'll notice the cleat, you'll see Mantle's cleat marks, you'll see where you'll still see the stitching from the baseball where he hit what was probably a pretty good shot, a homer or whatever. And it even has a very, very slight crack on it, but it's still in excellent condition. And like I said, they only gave the players 2 of these bats to use. And this was the year he was the MVP. His last MVP year was 62. So that's it.
Very nice.
Thank you for reminding me. I would have completely forgot. I might even have left it here. Okay.
Very nice. Thank you.
All right.
That's
Thank you.
great. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I never got any popcorn.
What?
Didn't get any.
Here you go, right here.
Oh,
Yeah, that.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Also, I just want to mention the devaluation, but when I was a kid, it was a 1984 Donruss Don Mattingly
Sure.
that was
Off the chart.
hot. And and now, I mean, and then career trails off. And that's no big deal.
Yeah.
And so it is a big deal, but it isn't.
What it was supposed to be, yeah.
Well, but it's interesting because they had this on somewhere the other day on the internet that now that he's in the World Series, although he's in there as a Blue Jay coach, if the team wins and he's got his ring, no matter how he got it, value of his cards, or at least the interest in that rookie card, may go up. So
True.
hold on to him if
That's
you
right.
got him.
Yeah. You have, I collect too. Obviously, I don't have anything, like you have. All sports, but do you have a family? I don't want to get obviously personal, but I think about that a lot. I have 2 kids here and grandchildren, and they're great sports fans. They go to spring training and everything. But I worry, like the first Sugar Bowl program, I got to play Super Bowl program, the all marriage stuff, a lot of stuff, keeps me up at night, What's important, what's not important, what's gonna
Are
happen?
you asking me if my collection is more important than my family? I'm not going to answer that on the air. No, I have a daughter. Actually, that's a whole nother story. I have a 36-year-old daughter who I raised as a Yankee fan. And then she got into Boston University. And I had to carry all her garbage her freshman year up to her dorm room, which was up like 5 or 6 flights of stairs in the dorm room. We get up to her room and I look out the window and the first thing I see is the Citgo sign. Okay, and I see Fenway Park. And I'm saying, this is what I'm paying. This is what I'm paying for. Well, she then meets a guy at Boston University and marries a guy at Boston University who is from Boston. So she ends up living in Boston. and becomes a Boston Red Sox fan. But because she's my only child, she knows I can't disinherit her.
Yeah.
So, but I always joke with her. But when we go to the games, in fact, her picture's in that book. In fact, it's in the very front of that book. Her picture's in the book. We go to the games. She wears her Red Sox stuff. I wear my Yankee stuff. If the Yankees are winning, I give her undue grief, and she gives me the finger. And if the Red Sox are winning, when Sweet Caroline comes on in the 7th inning, she sings it right in my face. I give her the finger. So, and we've gone back and forth. This year was my year because, Red Sox didn't lost to the Yankees in the playoffs, but it goes back and forth and we take it in good fun.
But she's gonna sell everything back to Reggie Jackson.
Well, oh, no, slowly, well, she doesn't want any, she wants two things. There's only two things she wants, both of which were closely connected to my mother, actually, who she was very close to. One is the architect drawings, because my mom helped me go get those. She wants those, fine. I have a chair, it's in the book. I have a chair from the original Yankee Stadium. The story there was, when I was 18, I was in college at the University of Buffalo in 1973, when they ripped out Yankee Stadium, and the Yankees didn't want any of these seats. They gave them to a department store in Brooklyn and said, do what you want with them. We don't care. Burn them, throw them away, sell them. And so this department store offered everybody could come, and if you paid $7.50 and a carton of Marlboro cigarettes, you got a chair from Yankee Stadium. And I said, Mom, can you go to EJ Corvettes, and that was the name of the store, and pick me up a chair? Steve, you're crazy. Who wants the junk? It's metal. It's garbage. Nobody wants that stuff. That's what. Mom, come on, please, just go. So my grandmother happened to smoke Marlboro cigarettes. So my mother took the carton of cigarettes and the $7.50, went to EJ Corvettes and got the seat. She held on to it while I was at Buffalo, and then had it put in one of these giant, wooden crates that a zoo would probably put a gorilla in, and had it shipped off to Buffalo, where I had it. And then when I graduated from Buffalo and came to Loyola, it came with me here. And as I've moved from house to house, it's moved. Now, my mother's passed away, but every time she would visit and come into my sports room, she would say, Steve, when are you going to buy me out of my one half the value of the chair? By that time, it was worth several $1,000s. I said, Ma, I'll be happy to give you $7.50 and a carton of Marlboro cigarettes. Right. So that's it. Those two things, the architect drawings and the chair. Everything else will go because I'm just the gatekeeper. That's it. This was Mantle's. Now it's mine. Someday it'll be somebody else's.
Cool. Any memorabilia from the motel that he owned?
Oh yeah, I've got the postcards. I've got postcards. I got dishes that he signed. I forget menus. I forget what else. But yeah, I've collected some stuff from his restaurants also.
Any questions from anybody remotely? I don't want to leave you out. Anybody got a comment, question? Wow, this is great. This is cool presentation. Appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you.
So you still collecting? You still pick up items?
Oh yeah, I do. What did I get recently? I got his lifetime pass to all games. He had a lifetime pass to all games. I got that recently, but now actually it's really an illness. I mean, this is an illness. I have to admit it. I'm, not alcoholic, I'm not, you don't see any tracks on my arms or anything like that, but this is an illness. Now I collect only cards signed by Mantle, because I think that's going to be the next big area of interest for collectors, is cards that are signed. You saw the Kobe Michael Jordan card that went recently for how much? 30 million?
Something like that, yeah.
$30 million for a card. And these manufacturers, they're not stupid. What they're doing is they're manufacturing rarity.
Right.
They're making all these one of ones, and they just need to find one person who's going to bid on it. And that's what they're doing now.
Have you ever met Dr. Bobby Brown before he passed away?
At a card show when he would do
went to Tulane.
he would do card shows every Yankees used to have, when Steinbrenner was alive, the Yankees had a I forget what it is, a fan festival. It was called the Yankees Fan Festival, be at a hotel in Manhattan, and they had all the Yankees were there from Mantle on down, and Bobby Brown was there a few times to get his autograph on some stuff.
Yeah, he played short for Tulane doing the Warriors.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you're familiar with Eddie Saper. So did any of y'all ever
Well,
know Eddie Saper, local? You might have met him. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eddie was my client and a friend. Well, that's the other thing. Yeah, some of my stuff I got through Eddie Saper.
Oh, Eddie Saper?
Yeah.
Eddie Saper was Billy Martin's agent, and he was my client as well. And he gave me stuff that used to belong to Billy, and whenever he came across something, he would let me know.
Funny you mentioned the 61 World Series. Gene Freeze, played 30 for the Reds. He played here at the Pelicans and married a local girl that maybe told me it.
Mhm.
And I don't know how many base hits Clayton Boyer beat him out of,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That series, and Gene used to talk about that all the time.
Right.
What Boyer did him.
Okay.
It
Okay.
was fun, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
We gotta let's see what time is it. 11:30. So we got a few, I guess another 30 minutes if you want to kick around what else is going on in the baseball world or whatever. We got more time. So again, anybody remotely, if you want to chime in with anything want to talk about, please feel free.
Yeah, I emailed out
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the update.
Yes.
Yeah, basically, I mean, it's all in there in my track.
Need help?
I just need some. With the tax, and then in the new year, the project. Will have the funds to actually make it, so. We're hoping. If we'll, we have the dedication.
So where's the grave located? In what cemetery?
It's in a Carrollton Cemetery,
Okay.
so I relatively small, it's in the Carrollton neighborhood.
John,
10
is it
years
Bissett?
away.
John Bissett, the Negro League player. Yeah.
So that's, yeah. I wanted to ask also. How are your connections with Tulane baseball?
Very good.
What would be the possibility of an Eagle tonight?
Who gotta ask?
Okay, so for who would I have?
Depends on what you want to know. Let's talk about it.
Okay. All right.
By the way, if anybody wants me to describe their book, just let me know. And if there's anybody who wasn't present.
Yeah,
that wants a
there are no-
copy,
I know there are a couple-
you
couple
get an
people.
address, I'd be happy to ship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Egg Johnson.
That box is probably worth,
Okay.
just by itself, empty box is probably worth something.
Yeah.
Huh?
Okay.
But, right about now, the coaches should do fall ball and stuff.
Yeah, that.
But you have to get to like marketing people. No, Stephen, that night you talked about it, the dome. I had my son following me around with the camera.
Yeah.
And we looked over in the dugout and there's DiMaggio and there's about 15 people in front of him trying to talk to him.
Maybe Carlos.
I said, we'll catch up with him later. 15, 20 minutes later, he's sitting in the dugout by himself. I walk over and I sit in the dugout and I start moving over like this. And my son's standing in front of the dugout, he's 15 years old with the camera. And I get done, said, Mr. DiMaggio, do you mind if I take a picture? No, he said, "Oh, okay." So I'm telling him, son, Bob, I said, move over and he can't get the camera to work.
Oh,
And he pressed it down.
God.
And DiMaggio looks at, son, I'll never forget, talks out, he said, son, press the button. Like that. But finally did get a great picture.
That's good.
DiMaggio.
Last thing, since I'm over here, if everybody wants to put on the gloves and hold the bat.
There you go.
You can do that.
We're gonna break up on this end here, guys. I think, unless there's much more going on, because you probably can't hear anything here anyway, so. All right, thanks for attending, guys. We appreciate it. And, we'll see you. We got a meeting when, January, the last Saturday of January. So we'll
Notice out to everybody again.
we'll send the calendar out again. So thanks again for participating. Take care.